Thank you, Bahija, my fellow advocate for chronic myeloid leukemia. How are you, dear? Um,
Fine, think.
so for
Fine.
those of you who joined only today, let me introduce myself briefly. I am Rod Padua. I had Touched by Max, a chronic myeloid leukemia and gastrointestinal stromal tumor advocacy group in the Philippines. Globally, I am chair of the CML Advocates Network. I am a council member of APPIS and strategic advisor for 2023. But more than anything else, I am a proud caregiver for my son who has leukemia. So enough about me. Let me introduce our speaker for today who will talk about the future of fundraising. So Chris Rogers is an award-winning social entrepreneur and technology leader with 12 plus years of experience in the financial tech, open banking, and payment fields. In 2019, he was named Startup Executive of the Year at the CEO Magazine's Executive of the Year Awards for his role as launch CEO at Byron Bay-based Split Payments, the world's first open banking real-time payments platform. Prior to joining Split Payments, he launched two of Asia Pacific's most successful peer-to-peer crowdfunding platforms, GoFundraise and SimplyGiving.com, Asia's largest online giving community operating in 20 countries, having raised more than 100 million US dollars for nonprofits across the globe. Chris was also the 2014 regional winner for community impact in Southeast Asia at Talent Unleashed, an international accolade judged by Sir Richard Branson and Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple. You know, I could go on and on with my friend Chris here, but I know he's going to introduce himself in the next few slides. So without much further ado, take it away, Chris.
Thank you so much, my friend. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and to join so many people in so many different regions of the world. So I'm truly humbled by your introduction and very excited to share briefly a few notes and learnings before a chat with you, Rod, which I look forward to unpack some of the things I might highlight. So if we may, let's go on to the slides. I promise this won't be death by PowerPoint, as they say. I'll hopefully inspire you over the next few minutes. But the future of fundraising is a big subject. So I want to try and break it down into three simple things. First, to focus on technology, where it is today, and why it's creating such an opportunity for us. Then the cornerstones of fundraising. What are the two things we need to understand to get started? And finally, give you 5 takeaways, 5 things you can leave this virtual room with today to implement into your patient organization or your business. So hopefully that will create something for you to find value in. To start with a brief introduction, Rod, thank you so much. I feel very humbled. Hello, I'm Chris. This is my digital self. Very easy, has no hair like me. I've been fortunate to do social impact work with these platforms I've launched, but also through Max Foundation and being a director in Australia of an aged care and disability company. But my other job is around financial technology and payments, and that enables me to stay ahead of innovation and trends. And through Eden Consultancy, I'm able to do both, which I'm very thankful to be able to do. So the first point I'd love to leave you with is this picture of a farmer in Kenya using a mobile phone. It just says to me that the future is not necessarily technology. It's defined by social change. This particular case study is M-Pesa, a way in which Kenyans could move money between family members and friends. Technology amplified that simple need in the community. And that's very important to understand. We often refer to these changes as the speed of innovation. Now, you'll see on this slide in front of you now that over the last 600 years, we didn't really rush our innovation. From the printing press through to landing on the moon, it took several hundred years. and even as late as the 1800s, the onset of X-ray technology, which benefited patients greatly. But as we approach the 21st century, look how much things changed. From computing to mobile technology to video capabilities and now to virtual worlds. If we put a health lens on this, things like telehealth, and we discussed this yesterday, enables us to bring cancer care treatments and clinical trials to a wider audience. And in the countries you're all joining from, you know, we have a dispersed demographic, and these innovations in technology enable us to do much more. So, despite this speed of innovation, let me just share with you two fundamentals of fundraising that are really important. And Corinne really touched on this with Bahija in the last session. You are all on a journey, and therefore storytelling is at the heart of everything we do and at the heart of successful fundraising. Studies of mythology, mythologists argue there are only one or two stories in existence. We simply keep on telling them again and again and again. Now, you may recognize Star Wars in the background if you're a film fan, and that's why this is also called the hero's journey, which is something Hollywood and film directors like George Lucas use to create every single story you've seen recently. So allow me, in the next minute, to explain what the hero's journey is. Act 1. In the three main acts is when you meet your hero in his or her world, who faces a challenge like a diagnosis and has to embark on a journey, which leads to Act 2, which is when our hero meets a mentor that teaches them the way in which to overcome a challenge, face darkness and temptation, which leads to Act 3, which is when the hero overcomes adversity and returns home victorious. Now, any Disney or Hollywood movie across time has followed the hero's journey. Even Top Gun, one of my personal favorites, is simply the hero's journey. So my question to you is, what is your hero's journey? You are amazing. And so people will listen to your story if we get better at telling it and sharing it. And that's something I'm really interested in unpacking with you. The second fundamental is how to build a community. Now, this in front of you is Chris Hughes. He's a founder of Facebook, ran Barack Obama's campaign, and he said, if you build something around real people, then it will resonate, it will become real. And technology is at its best when it helps you do that. So again, technology is very simple and basic, but very powerful at empowering you to tell your story. And that's incredibly important. It also is something I call the ripple effect. How do we build our community? If it's around community, think you have your friends, your family, people you share your journey with, but there's wider ripples of people you play sports with, you eat with, you work with, that can be part of your community. And that's very important to understand. It even helps you know where to fundraise. This group of Singaporean students I worked with chose to fundraise on their campus because that's where their people are. This, in your case, may be hospitals, clinics. Understand where the people you're trying to reach are, and it will become simpler for you. So let's finally talk about technology. This lady in front of you on the screen, VG Venkatesh, presented to you all yesterday. I had the pleasure of working with her in Thailand several years ago at a similar workshop where she came up with the idea of Chai for Cancer. Now, this was an incredible fundraising and awareness campaign, and you'll see on your screen now, I'm scrolling through her website. Please do scan the QR code to visit the website directly, and you'll see it's about sharing stories. It's about creating amplification. They even use heroes to highlight what Chai for Cancer is. And it's simply getting together, sharing your story, and asking for people to support that journey at the same time. So a wonderful campaign, remembering a few things, that it was not just fundraising, it's awareness. It's not just digital, it's also offline. And it's also empowering every participant who hosts a tea to become a hero and share that with their own social network as well. The final one is influencer fundraisers. This is Pat Garcia Gonzalez. I know many of you know her. She's the wonderful mother of Max and founder of the Max Foundation. She sacrifices her birthday every year and says, instead of a present, just donate to a charity. And that enables her to reach her network and influence people that work with her to give instead of giving presents. And she's raised tens of thousands of dollars in so doing, and all of us could do exactly the same thing. So in closing, I've run a minute over, Rod, my friend, I'm sorry. I will leave you with 5 key takeaways. And it's easy to remember it with a word: trust. So tell your story. And remember the impact. Remember the day your son or child or overcame a condition with a treatment, and mark those down to be part of your story. Understand who your community is. It will be bigger than you think it really is. And then lastly, share. Share your story through social media, through storytelling, and use technology, because it has never been simpler to utilize technology and social networks to spread your story and your incredible journey. So with that, thank you so much. Do scan this QR code in front of you for my personal contact details if there's any questions you have for me directly. But without further ado, my friend Rod, let's have that chat and maybe unpack some of what I've presented.
You know, Chris, you never fail to amaze me with your presentations time and time again. And you had to align your slide theme this time to movies when the Oscars is still a hot topic. So I guess all the participants here now will have their own takeaways. But first of all, Chris, in the context of APPIS, who is the hero, and is there a villain?
That's a great question, my friend. The hero for me is very obvious. It's the people in this room. Now, whether that's a patient or someone, a caregiver, it's that person that's undertaken adversity and overcome a challenge like cancer and other chronic diseases. It's a very simple way to apply the hero's journey. But I don't know, let's think a bit deeper, Rod. What other heroes can we think of within that mix? Who else could be a champion?
Well, we will post that question to the participants. Let's not preempt what's in their minds right now. Chris, we all know that part of the positives of the pandemic was the role of digitalization and technology in fundraising. But do you think in the post-pandemic world it's still going to be like that? The
That's a
magnitude
really
of, yeah.
That's a good question. I'm a director of an aged care provider here, and with a different demographic. Usually technology is for your Gen X or your trendy young guy, right? Not us. But we even saw the older demographic embracing social connectivity to connect with their community and play mahjong, even as simple as that. So I believe the pandemic has led to a faster transformation to digital, and that will persist. But we have to remember, and someone earlier mentioned, you have to marry digital with offline. There are regions, there are audiences that we can't reach through various digital channels. So my advice is to marry the two, like VG did with Chai for Cancer, and make sure every option to participate and give is available to them. But look, I'm a technologist, I'm a futurist. I believe everyone will be, if they aren't already, fully digitally enabled. And that will lead to big change, as we've discussed already today.
Yeah, right. You showed a slide with the technology going up, encompassing so many decades. But let's not go that far. Only 10 to 20 years, all right? Do you think there's a unique opportunity or challenge nowadays as against 10 or maybe 20 years ago? Or for the patient groups, especially?
Yes. Speaking openly, I think the last 20 years has been where most of the innovation happens. So I don't even think about the next 10 years. But there is something upon us now that is impacting our world, which is artificial intelligence. Things like ChatGPT. And some colleagues mentioned this yesterday, the ability to overinform or misinform due to unreliable data sets has the possibility to impact us in the wrong way. We need to ensure that the information available to us and to machines is reliable and specific and helpful. So I worry, and I'm equally excited about artificial intelligence and how quickly over the next 2 to 3 years that will impact us. The second is cybersecurity. We have to stay safe. We have to make sure our digital self and our digital medical records are safe and reliable. So 2 key things, AI and security.
Well, we really don't want to be techie on those terms, but really it's quite a daunting future when you mention AI and cybersecurity. But we leave it at that. Do you think an impactful fundraising campaign would still be like what it is now, as against maybe in 2025? How will it look in 2025?
That's great, Rod. I think I'd like to ask you the same question in a moment, but I look at things like the session before us with Corinne. I look at things like Chai for Cancer, and I see the fundamental success criteria being the same. It's about sharing a story, telling it in a different way, and for us as a social being, as humans, really thrive and grow through storytelling. So I would like to say, contrary to my day job, that the story will remain and the success will remain at the heart of how we share and reach out to people. But Rod, tell me, what do you think? Because you've been through this for so long and worked with many patient groups. How do you think things might change? Do you think digital might be too big a mountain to climb?
Well, I'd throw it back to you, because you said all along in some of your talks, which I have been following, the main reason why people give is when they are being asked. So in this stage of the pandemic, where it's very easy to go online and ask people, then I think that's the key. We have to be constant in our asking, whether if it's with technology or the old style of going door to door. We have to ask people to give and to show them that the results of why they should give.
I remember this because when we launched Go Fundraise, we ran a survey and we asked almost 30,000 people who had donated to a charity why they give. And it's, because they care, because they're emotional, because of the story, because of the subject matter. But you're absolutely right. The biggest answer we received was simply because they were asked. And I think as patient groups, we have enough on our plate before we think to ask for donations. But when you think about how that might help your patient group and help people, it's incredible. So even if you launch social media channels, most have the ability to activate a donate now button. And how many people will pass through your social group or WeChat or WhatsApp or Facebook, see a button and really resonate with the cause and actually give? So Rod, absolutely, we must not be afraid to ask, because that will lead to great things.
So enough of our successes. Do you mind, on a personal note, sharing your downsides in your campaigns? Were there negatives?
Yeah, I think the biggest downside is our biggest upside, which is the technology, the trust to donate through channels. We've struggled with that. We've struggled with transparency through the platforms you choose. All of these things are becoming easier to overcome. But I think that the downside as well is just not being able to get the right platform, tell the right story. You have to practice, everyone, and understand beyond 3 acts what storytelling is, and reach out to people like me that get technology to have a hand to hold. We were pioneers and launched things and failed as much as we succeeded. But now I feel we're democratizing technology, and that's good for us. there are people that can hold your hand on this journey. I hope that answered your question, Rod.
Yeah. So thank you, Chris. I hope we will get to have some beer sometime and continue this fireside chat. And I know you will agree with me to challenge the audience that knowing all of this and having as a takeaway your TRUST, the trust, to devise their own fundraising campaign and then to show APPIS what they have learned so far. So thank you again, my friend, and see you around.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rod.
Okay, so for this time, let me invite Adam to present the next session, Dream Bigger in a New Digital Era. We're still onto the technology theme of APPIS.